Hey, listen up. We got another episode of Wise Kracks, featuring the crack man himself, Bill Krackomberger, and our co-host, John Orlando, straight from Las Vegas. Wise Kracks is your ticket inside the world of sports betting, with tips, picks, special guests, and more. Only on WSN.com.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Wise Kracks. It's another week and we got a lot on our mind. At least I got a lot on my mind today, and I want to deal with all of it with the man of the hour, Mr. Bill Krackomberger. I'm fired up today, Bill. What's going on?
Hey, yeah, me too. We actually could have had a couple different guests I could have had the last 2 days, but I thought there was so much to talk about that, about a couple things here. I thought we'd just wing it, you and I together like we always do. Not really a lot prepared, where we're just going to kind of talk about what the last week was and some unique situations. And this is usually the best kind of shows. We're going to take some questions and should be fun.
That is music to my ears, because the first item up for bid is the obvious, which is the Jake Paul, Ben Askren annihilation. I think we need to call it what it was, with that big first round knockout of Ben Askren by a vicious right from Jake Paul. What are your thoughts on the fight? I have a lot of thoughts. I want to see your thoughts. I want to hear your thoughts.
Well, we had Jake Paul on. I'm sorry. Well, you had Jake in the background on for a second.
We did.
BJ Flores on, his trainer. And just like BJ said, I actually said this. So I actually made a comment that you like first round knockout. And he said, well, I'm not necessarily saying first round knockout, but we're going to knock him out in the first 4 rounds. So here you have the trainer that's taken him all over the country to train with different boxers, professional boxers. We know he was a good striker. We know from the people we know in the industry. My friend Teddy Atlas has his podcast, and he had Ben Askren on. I watched it twice because I wanted to hear again what I just heard Ben saying. And that was, no matter what happens, I'm gonna drive home having a bigger bank account that night. And then a second time on the show, he said, I'm gonna have a bigger, I'm gonna have a bigger bankroll again. Meaning, like, he's not tipping his hand. Of course he wanted to win, but I think he just was there for the paycheck, just like he said on Teddy's show. And, the combination of that and the combination of our podcast, looking at it now, probably should have been a bigger bet. And just like I told BJ, I was going to have a 5-figure bet on it. I posted one of my tickets on Twitter, my Circa sports ticket. I had a $5,000 bet with Circa minus 160. And then I had, before that though, I bet 6,000 minus 167. And I actually, just like I said on, I'm a spokesman for PointsBet, and just like I said on the PointsBet video, which was on Twitter, it's still there. I said, I'm going to actually, instead of laying the 160, I would say, you guys should take him by knockout, which was minus 110 at a couple spots. For me to go all out and saying this stuff on my socials, saying on the podcast, putting it on Twitter, I don't really like giving picks out, because people judge you by one pick. They judge you by one pick, and I know long term, I know what I've been paying taxes on the last, decade and a half, 20 years. So it's on gambling when it's on winning sports betting. So it's tough to just have you judge it by one pick. But I went all out there, kind of put myself on, I say on the line. It really wasn't that. I've had losing picks too that I talk, but I know I win more than I lose. So bottom line is, you look back at it now and you say, and we had my agent, my lawyer, my friend on before the show, talking to him. He makes some great sense though. This Triller network was based on Jake Paul winning. So you look back at it now, like he said, the balloons came down with Jake Paul on them. Diplo played a song with Jake Paul in it. This was all arranged for really Jake Paul. And I don't mean arranged like fixed, like maybe you guys think, or a lot of guys on Twitter think that too. I'm just saying the guy was just in there for a paycheck, and it shows. You look back at it now, you say, wow, how didn't I have much more money on this? And there was naysayers, there was people in there saying, yeah, okay, Crack, you get these kind of guys, and that's what Twitter is about. People hide under anonymity and under fake names, and even if they don't, it's okay. They can have different opinions, and they just say that there's no value. And to be honest with you, that's another whole question within itself. This fight dropped tremendously against everything I'm about. I laid 166 for 6,000, laid 160 for 5,000, and all of a sudden, I seen this fight dropping everywhere. It actually was minus 129 for about 15 minutes, about maybe an hour before the fight. And right 20 minutes before the fight, it was minus 130 at one of the biggest shops in the world. So they were begging for Jake Paul money. I'm guessing contrarian, or I'm even going to say some sharp guys. It takes sharp guys to move this line. So this line really dropped, but it didn't drop at the places like the DraftKings, the FanDuels, the Square sports books, especially out in Vegas. The Square sports books didn't drop there. It was still minus 150 at fight time. But then again, some of these places, they have some balls in plain English. Minus 150. When I was watching the fight, the sponsor of the fight was DraftKings. Minus 150, comeback plus 110.
Yeah.
Anyone knows that 150 is supposed to come back 130, but
anyway,
enough.
Did I hear you say that the prop bet of Jake Paul by knockout was 10-1 in the first round?
Yes, you could have. Matter of fact, if you're on your shopping, you might have got better than that. But the places I was looking on the Jersey apps that were really, it just seems like the FanDuels, the DraftKings, the Euro books that are represented around the country, they're more interested in a fight like this than the serious sports books like Circa or Westgate or out in Vegas. It seemed like the Square sports books, William Hill out in Vegas, they're more interested in this fight. It's geared towards more of the Square fans. So, but yes, I seen plus 10-1. You know what? I looked right away when BJ was on the show and BJ said, first, second, third, fourth. I looked right away at the knockout. It was anywhere from 8-1 to 10-1. In the first 4 rounds, any round. So just
you actually could have bet. You could have bet every single round by knockout and been guaranteed. Well, not guaranteed, but you still would have won money.
Yes, but if the fight does go, it's scheduled for 8 rounds. So if the fight does go more than 4 rounds, you lose 4 bets instead of losing 1 bet. That's why I was recommending the Jake Paul by knockout. I send out Jake Paul. I sent out minus 170 to all the Crack Wins guys. All the it was actually a free pick. So for anyone that's on my mailing list, they got the Jake Paul, which is hard for me to give out a big favorite like that.
Yeah, I know it is. It goes against everything you believe in, right?
What goes against everything I believe in is closing line value opposite way. You understand? It's exactly what happened here. This fight kept on dropping and dropping and dropping. As I was inquiring, I did find out that a lot of the kind of the sharper guys thought that it was too high for a YouTuber, but maybe they weren't informed like we were, John. They didn't have a BJ Flores. They wouldn't have an Askren on like Teddy's podcast. But if they do their research and do watch stuff like our podcast, like Teddy's podcast, they would have seen firsthand how the training camps, how the individual fighters thought, the mentality of the fighter, the mentality of the trainer, the training camp. You've seen those guys go down the steps, and here you had BJ on his phone saying, "What do we think, guys? What do we think?" And all those guys together, including Jake Paul, 3 days. That's what I effing think. That's what he said.
Right.
It's going to be like it was like Mr. T in Rocky when he said, "What do you predict?" Pain.
Yeah. So speaking of pain, I was in a little pain from watching this. So I'm going to give you my take. I'm going to sound like a hater for a minute, but I'm also going to give the counter argument against my own hater argument, if that makes any sense. Okay.
Sure.
Bear with. Here's my take. So like you said, the writing was on the wall, right? From the very beginning, the very jump, you had Snoop Dogg as one of the commentators, Mario Lopez, Oscar De La Hoya, which we definitely need to have a whole separate conversation on Oscar De La Hoya in a second. But they were all, it was almost like, which they were hired by Jake Paul, but you would think that they would still go at it like any normal announcer would, commentator, and be impartial, right? And give both fighters their due respect. But that was not the case on Saturday night. So that really bugged me. Michael Buffer, I don't think he meant to do it. I've met Michael Buffer a million times. He's a classy guy. He's a nice guy. I'm friends with Bruce Buffer, and so is my dad with both of them. Michael Buffer botched Ben Askren's name. He introduced him as Ben Askew, and didn't. They never corrected it, to my knowledge. So like the whole broadcast was just so pro Jake, which I get. He's the money. He's the golden goose. He's why we're tuning in, right? We're tuning in to see Jake Paul, and they were very smart with the broadcast to have Justin Bieber headlining. Like they did all the things right. I didn't love the production as a whole, but name value, they put the right pieces of the puzzle together. But when you say, Diplo was wearing a Jake Paul shirt and, they had balloons that said Jake Paul, falling, they certainly didn't have a set of Ben Askren balloons on deck. Do you really look at that as they just knew based on the info they had and the tape they've seen on Ben Askren, up against knowing that Jake's been training in boxing for 3 years, where Ben Askren's been retired for 18 months. Ben Askren just had hip surgery. Ben Askren had 11 weeks to prepare for this, and Jake Paul's been boxing for 3 years now. So do you really believe they factored all that in and their conclusion was there's no way Jake loses this fight? Or is it fair to say it's also a reasonable assumption to look at all those factors on top of they had the balloons and the way the telecast was structured and the way the announcers were talking and how fast that referee waved off that fight, that maybe it was fixed?
Fix is a giant three-letter word. It's a giant three-letter word.
And let me tell you something.
Fix,
I hate when people say stuff like that.
Well,
in sports.
Do you think that Ben Askren took a fall? That's what fix means.
Here's the thing.
Fix means that he's in on the fix and he's taking a fall.
And so here's the thing. I am a Ben Askren fan. So I am not speaking ill of Ben Askren. I don't love Jake Paul, but BJ warms me up a little bit to Jake Paul last week. I'll give him that. I'll explain my issue with Jake Paul in a minute. Let me explain Ben Askren. Here's what I think. I think they knew what they were doing when they picked him. It certainly was, if you're going to fight an MMA fighter and you're Jake Paul, I would agree Ben Askren is the one to fight. He's a very decorated wrestler. He's not known for his striking, let alone boxing. Boxing and striking are even two different things in MMA. Straight up boxing, it's different range. There's so many factors that go into, what makes you a good or bad boxer. Jake Paul handpicked Ben Askren for that reason. So here's where I think maybe the fix was. I don't believe, and this, I could be delusional, and I am open to that as being a possibility when I say this, okay? I don't think contractually there was a fix. I think contractually Ben Askren got his $500,000, which has been just, told to everyone. It's on the record. I believe Ben Askren contractually probably got pay-per-view points. He probably got a little piece of the pie as a bonus. And then I think somewhere along that negotiation, someone looked Ben Askren in the face with a little wink, wink, and said, so you get $500,000 for showing up. You get a little bit of the pay-per-view points. And if Jake Paul wins, you get a bonus of $1 million. That's what I think. I know that's an awful thing to say because it's.
So you're saying exactly what I'm saying. You're saying what my question was. And you're saying that Ben Askren compromised his integrity and his pocket. He just said, "I'm going to take a fall for the like back in the 30s and 40s when the mafia controlled boxing and they would have guys take falls." That's what the word fix means to me. And you're not alone in this, by the way.
Right.
Twitter is full of these guys.
Here's why
full of guys saying this.
Yeah, for sure. Here's why I say it. That may be, if a Ben Askren fan is listening to this, or Ben Askren, that may be taken as me being disrespectful to Ben. It's actually a compliment to Ben. So here's why. Ben Askren has had 21 professional MMA fights. He is 19-2. Do you know how many times he's been knocked out? 1. That was a freak occurrence flying knee within 4 or 5 seconds when he fought Jorge Masvidal. That was his very first loss. And then his next loss was to, I believe, Damian Maia submitted him, I think. So those are his 2 losses in a 10 to 15 year career as a professional fighter. He was the Bellator champ. He was the one championship champ. So to become the champ, you have to go through a long list of fighters to get there, which means, yes, he's an accomplished wrestler and it's different rules. It's MMA rules, but he's still been in there with some of the best strikers imaginable. He'd never been knocked out. Now that's as a professional. Now factor in all of the gym wars that he's had. Ben Askren has a granite chin. Okay. He may be 36. He may have been retired for 18 months. He may have just had hip surgery, but him getting dropped by an overhand right by a non-boxer, a non-professional fighter who's 3-0, who's beat a rapper, a basketball player, and whoever else Jake Paul beat, I believe is 3-0 at the time, right? So I just don't buy it. And
he's been training with a 34-4 trainer. He's had sparring partners who are professional boxers all over the country, 6 of them, that's been with all these professional guys, that's been in with champions and everything else. I just think he was ready for the fight, and he's a good striker. I think he's actually a boxer. I think he's going to actually have a really good career, whoever he's going to be fighting against down the line. It's going to be, of course, handpicked, just like when Mickey went into Rocky and said, Rock, you've been fighting tomato cans. Your record is all pumped up because of tomato cans. And Rocky got real mad at him, and because they were going to fight, I forget his name, but of course, Mr. T.
Clubber Lang. Yeah,
Clubber Lang. So now Rocky got real insulted and said they weren't real. Of course they're not real. Look at any professional boxer's record. They're all set up for 20-0s, 25-0s, 28-1. These are all hand-picked tomato cans that they build them up until they go to the real fight. You ever hear the saying that always says, who do they ever fight though? They don't. So that's, I'm sorry. I'm not going to believe the guy. But listen, I will tell you though, I'm sure everybody has their price, but I don't know if, $500,000, it's almost a little bit of an embarrassment that he would do that for $500,000.
No, I don't think he did for $500,000. I think the $500,000 was the guaranteed.
He'll probably make $2 million after pay-per-view, right?
And I think there was a wink, we'll give you a little extra if Jake wins. Wink, wink. I really, because here's why. Like you said, you saw him on a couple different shows leading up to the fight, Ben, right? You saw him on Teddy Atlas, and he said, if it doesn't go my way, I make the money.
That's what he said.
So
he was going to give it his all, though. He wasn't going to just give him. But
I saw him on the day after the fight on Ariel Helwani, the famous MMA. He covers UFC. And he said, Ariel, there was only one reason why I wouldn't take that fight, and that would be in the event of being embarrassed, which is what ended up happening, right? And then he said, meaning if I got knocked out by a YouTuber, that would be the only reason why I wouldn't take the fight, because that would be embarrassing, right? And then he said, but that's not a big enough reason. That's not a good enough reason for me not to take the fight. That's what he told Ariel Helwani the Monday after the fight. And I read between the lines when I hear him say that. And to me, that's like saying, okay, so that's just him being a good and or bad actor on an interview on the Monday after. And, he was like, the getting knocked out by the flying knee was upsetting because he was on his road to UFC gold. He had never been defeated. And so I just look at it like, okay, so you've already been defeated. So you've had the loss. You've lost again after that. So you've got 2 losses under your belt in MMA, and you're retired. And what do you care at this point? Ben Askren is the type of guy that he doesn't care what I think. He doesn't care what you think. He doesn't care what anybody thinks. He's comfortable in his own skin, and he is open and honest, and he wears his heart on his sleeve. He doesn't really care. And I think because of that, it was easy motivation for him to, I'll take the money. And if I get KO'd, I get KO'd. And I think that he took an opportunity to get KO'd. I don't watch it again. I don't believe he was as stumbly as he was. Maybe I'm just reading into something, but I still it goes back to that guy's been in the cage with straight up murderers over 10 to 15 year career. And
you should have made a lot of money on this fight, John. Did you bet it?
I didn't.
How can you not bet it after last week's show? You were saying, man, this has got me so pumped up.
I know.
And then I know you said you were, I don't know if you bet the draw or you put on the draw on your socials to draw.
Oh, I did bet the draw. I bet the draw. Sorry.
And if there was any kind of a fix or
because that's what I thought where it would be.
That could have happened like the Tyson fight,
Right.
But yeah, I can't believe it. I mean,
here's the counter argument to what I'm saying, though. The counter argument is shame on me for not giving Jake Paul any respect as having the potential to be a very good athlete.
Of course.
And I'm doing that because he's a YouTuber, and that's not cool, right? If he was coming out of the NFL, if he came out of the NFL, people would go, well, he's a gifted athlete, right? Or if he was a pro baseball player, like we never shamed Herschel. We were never surprised Herschel Walker had success as a fighter. We're not surprised Greg Hardy is undefeated in the UFC because these guys came from the NFL and like we just do the math and go, he's a gifted athlete. He's got cardio. He's got strength. He's got hand-eye coordination. Sure, he can fight, right? Like, why am I not giving Jake Paul that same due respect? Would be my own counter argument against it's fixed. I guess I'm just all fired up over this crack. I don't know. The
Triller Network, though, I'm embarrassed to give them $50 for the circus sideshow they had there. I'm an old school guy. You guys know me. I'm an old school knockaround guy. And if I was watching that with my son or my kids or something, it's a total embarrassment. I was almost embarrassed in front of my male friends that were hanging out. If I was with my wife or a couple of girls watching the fight, I mean, some of the words they were using, the sexual things, and even the announcers were cursing and F this, F that. And, only Ray Flores I'm friends with. Ray did a good job. He kept it professional. He's in the boxing
Mario
world.
Lopez did a great job, as he always does.
I text him. Yeah, I mean, I just didn't care.
Oscar De La Hoya. Can we talk about him?
Oscar was a mess. I mean, he was they want to say that he was on marijuana. I don't think that was from marijuana. He was all white and sweaty.
Yeah, I think they were saying coke. I've read coked up. Yeah. I mean, something
it's a shame. The demons have got him. Those demons get people, man, and it's a shame that the demons have got him. What a great fighter, a great athlete, and he's actually a nice guy too. It's really a shame what happened there with Oscar, and he really has. The demons are still with him here a decade later after he admitted all this stuff, and hopefully he can rebound from that. But I guess it shows you there it takes a lot more than mental strength. And I wish him the best.
Before we move on the Jake Paul saga, I'll leave one more remark. What I want from Jake Paul is I get the whole, like, what they're doing. The strategy is pad his record, get him to 10-0 or whatever the number is they're trying to get to, and then put him in against what we would all agree is a legit contest. I feel like
you don't think Jake Paul's doing this for the money, though, do you?
Of course he is.
I mean, he's got a lot of money already. I don't think they're trying to pad his record so he gets the big payday. I think that supposedly,
I think he's getting big paydays along the way because he is.
I don't know what he made that fight, but I'm sure he made probably a few million bucks.
6.5 is what I believe they said.
Wow.
I'd love to see him fight Mario Lopez. Mario Lopez can box. No, I don't know if you know that. Mario Lopez he's been boxing for 20 years. Mario Lopez is legit. I've seen him in the gym throw hands. He's legit. He works out with Freddie Roach, or at least he used to. We
all seen what working out for what Freddie Roach did for Ben Askren. It did nothing. So I'm not a Freddie Roach fan. I know a lot about Freddie Roach that most people don't know. So
really,
I know he left his fighters. He's left some fighters out to hang because there was a bigger payday after he started training somebody and he agreed to train him for a fight. And then he took a bigger payday right in the middle of the training camp. So I'm not a big Freddie Roach fan. He's all about himself and the money. So
really,
yeah.
Breaking news here. Who knew?
It's not really breaking. People in the industry know. Yeah.
All right, let's move on from Jake Paul. We'll put that to bed. With all that said, I'll still watch the next fight. So clearly, what Jake Paul is doing is working. Okay, so Las Vegas is starting to look like Las Vegas again. Have you been?
Yeah. The rules are being lifted here. I think in May
Yep.
there's going to be back to, I don't know if it's 100%, but I believe it's supposed to be like by the summer, right?
By June 1st, 100%. On May 1st, we go to no more social distancing. Still have to wear masks, but venues are open and we'll be at 100% June 1st. That's shows, sporting.
Everyone's going to want to travel. Everyone's going to want to, do the vacation thing that they got stuck the last, year and a half staying home. So I'm sure there's going to be people out in droves. Vegas is one of the hot spots.
Yeah.
So also Atlantic City in New Jersey, the weekends are absolutely wall to wall. People cannot get in. It's that busy. And the slot machines are all taken. The place is making a ton of money. I can't credit that just to sports betting. That's just because of people's need to travel and they're getting stuck home for all that time. So I have to tell you though, I shouldn't say that bad about sports betting, because sports betting definitely has helped Atlantic City. I mean, you're talking New Jersey itself taking over the number one spot in the United States for volume, almost month after month here. So sports betting definitely has helped New Jersey, and we'll see if that continues after New York is going to be allowed to have the mobile app betting, which is going to be pretty soon, probably for football season. So people don't have to come across the river no more to the Meadowlands and bet sports, or just come across the river onto New Jersey soil, the jurisdiction to be able to bet sports. So we'll see what happens. But I do continue. I do, see the trend continuing is what I meant to say. I think New Jersey's going to have a big summer, Atlantic City.
Yeah, man. I was so impressed. I hadn't been to Atlantic City in a long time, like 20 years, until that trip with you a few months back. And I was blown away. That Ocean, is it Ocean? Is that the casino?
Ocean Casino?
I loved that place, and the Hard Rock, and I was really, really impressed.
Hard Rock and Ocean, I think, are the nicest two properties. I think the Borgata got old. Unfortunately, they still make the most money.
Really,
it's in the marina. It's in the Marina District, so it's more of a safer area there.
Right.
You don't tend to see the hustlers and the fleas come over there. Like the boardwalk casinos, they go in and out and, bother people, ask for money, hang around the crap table, try to intimidate you. That doesn't really happen.
Really? I didn't see any of that at Ocean, though.
Well, Ocean doesn't really, the sports book we were in, we weren't, I'll tell you what, the center of the boardwalk over there by Bally's and Caesars.
Yeah.
Man.
Stay away.
Even resorts.
I
just, listen, I'm not saying they're giant casinos. They have security and stuff too. I don't mean to scare people away. Yeah. I would just rather have, if I was with my parents or grandparents or whatever, I want them in the marina casinos, even though I do like Ocean and Hard Rock the best. I think that's the vibe. It's the happening spot, place to be seen. I think they're the best places, but so, I'm not being negative on AEC. I actually am all for it. I love it. I love New Jersey, love the Jersey Shore. I always tell people to pop down to Ocean City. It's 2 towns down. It's actually about 4 towns down, but from AC. It's a dry town. It's a family town, boardwalk, great food, great fun. I love Ocean City, New Jersey. My number one town in America, probably. In the summer.
Really?
So, yes. Love it.
You heard it here. And not paid to say that.
No. No, not at all.
Well, while all eyes were on Jake Paul and Ben Askren Saturday night, I don't know if everybody remembers or not, there was a big UFC fight with Robert Whittaker and Kelvin Gastelum, which I had incorrect. I picked Gastelum, and after looking at the fight, I had a "what was I thinking" moment. Do you ever have those moments where you just move on? Or
there's nothing wrong with consistency, John. No, actually, you're not going to believe this. I had a few bucks on that too. I took a ridiculous price. I seen a really big price. I forget what it was, but I bet
plus 210 or something, right? Yeah, I mean,
something over 2 to 1. Oh yeah,
right. That was the thing. To be honest, I even told people, I'm like, I think Whittaker wins, but how do you not bet on Gastelum? He But
again,
that's okay to do. Right?
I had $300 on that. It's really a little peanut bet to have some fun. When I'm betting 11,000 on a main event of a card and 300 on something I thought that might be a little bit of value. Maybe I heard you in my head too.
Yeah.
Actually, a friend of mine actually like them too. That's pretty good. So.
And then hopefully I wasn't in your head on this one because last week, of course, Murphy's Law always takes charge, right? Last week I mentioned the Dodgers minus 1.5 is the best bet in baseball. Bet it every single day. And I think the Dodgers were 11-3 with that bet at the time I said it. And ever since I said it, they've lost 3 in a row. never mind not winning by more than 1.5. They've just straight up lost 3 in a row since then. But minus 1.5 is still 11-6 on the year.
Oh no, they're the best team in baseball still. They may have lost those games by like 1 or 2 runs each. They're that close to them, but yeah, you can't bet blindly the minus 1.5. This is a Wise Kracks podcast. They have to know, that's not a bet that I condone.
Yeah,
betting blindly minus 1.5 on anything. And first of all, you're paying a premium for that. You're paying because it's the Dodgers. And sorry, John, I don't mean to say that. The square mentality is, I can't lay 260 on a game.
Right.
Let me lay 1.5, minus 1.5, minus 140 though.
That is my mentality.
Yeah, I
good?
can't condone it.
Okay,
But hey, you're having fun. You're having fun.
Let me ask you this. A couple nights ago when the Dodgers they did win 8 games in a row, 7 of them in a row by, they covered the minus 1.5, let the record show. Julian Marquez, our good friend of the show and UFC fighter. So he calls me up and he says, so Dodgers minus 1.5 tonight. This is when they had won 8 in a row, now going for game number 9 in a row. And I did say to him, I said, man, I mean, I don't know. The law of averages kicks in at some point. I wouldn't do it. I don't know about that. I mean, how many games can they win in a row, let alone win by more than, 1.5? What are your thoughts on that? Do we ride a streak? Or do you lean towards the law of averages? They're due to lose. What do we do in those scenarios?
I'm not a streak guy. I just think it's priced in. Once like a 3-game winning streak happens, I think it gets priced in. Instead of laying $1.40 on a game, you lay $1.50 because it's priced in, or maybe not even, maybe $1.43 or $1.44. Actually, it's more like it. I just think it's priced in. I'm not a streak guy. But if there is a game of streaks, compared to like the NFL or anything else, I think that baseball would be a game of streaks more than an NFL game, which is a once a week product.
Okay, fair enough. Moving on, later this month on April 29th, the NFL draft is back. And I didn't realize this. I heard you talking before we were on the air. Did I understand this right? You've had success betting on draft props. I didn't even know. I need to just understand, even though I consider myself, I'm pretty dialed into the betting world. I didn't, for some reason, realize you can bet on the draft.
Oh yeah, all the sports books have this up. The Circas, the William Hills in Vegas, and of course the DraftKings, FanDuel's, PointsBet of the world. They all put up draft props, and this is a beatable event. It's a beatable sport. Yes, because it's all about information. It's about doing your own research. It's about keeping close track of socials and finding out what's going on with certain players and the scouting reports. Is the beat writers. It's got to take some legwork to do this. I understand. That's why you could just follow Crack Wins. I mean, I think we were 5-0 and 4-1. I'm not exactly positive. We only lost 1 in 2 years though. We give out some really good draft props next week, so I look forward to doing that. And yeah, it's a fun way to bet too. Like I said, it's really of having those, connections and ear to the grindstone here. This is, I don't want to say too much yet because I didn't release anything yet to my guys, but lock's a strong word. I won't say that, but I bet a lot of money on a lot of this stuff, as much as I can bet, because that's how confident I am in the draft props.
Well, speaking of the fact that you haven't given it out to your guys yet, this is probably a good opportunity for me to remind everybody to head on over to the Apple Store or Google Play and download the Crack Wins app, or go to crackwins.com and you can get all of these wonderful picks from Crack, from the draft, and of course, pro basketball, golf, baseball's in full swing. There's only a handful of games left in the NBA regular season, but I would assume you plan on crushing the playoffs as well. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, no, we've done really good. Again, these draft props are coming up. We had some we hit a little road bump during March Madness, but whew, that's way in the rearview mirror. I mean, and before March Madness, we've killed it over 60% in college basketball. It's ridiculous. 60%. It's going to make people a whole lot of money. Again, in the last couple of weeks, again, great run for us. I think we were 19-7, up 21 units. Listen, if you win like 20 units in any 1 or 2 weeks, you're going to be up for the month. And that's what baseball has done for us. We started out really well. Golf, baseball, NBA, props. Oh, man, this is it's a special time of the year that's unusual. Usually this is a lull for a lot of sports. But when we have the draft and you have all these other things together, it's a nice mix. And the Crack Wins guys have been along for the ride. They really enjoy it.
Fantastic. So you heard the man. Head on over to the Apple Store or Google Play. Download the Crack Wins app today. Get in the winner's circle. Speaking of the winner's circle, I know you're not a big horse racing guy, but I just can't help but bet the ponies. And I recently discovered, because of you, WSN.com does some great horse racing coverage. I know you probably ignore it because you don't really care about the horse racing stuff, but I took your advice and I headed over to WSN.com. And they really do a good job with the horse racing. Well, obviously all sports, but I particularly was loving some of the horse racing stuff because they cover a lot of the other tracks that I'm not too familiar with. And they've got all the tips, promos, a lot of the bonuses, like you were saying. All these sports books have ongoing bonuses, sign-up bonuses and stuff. And WSN.com lays it out really great there. Am I right, Crack, on my assessment?
Yeah, I see what you see, what you're looking at. The horse racing with the Keeneland Stakes,
Exactly.
Bewitched Stakes is called. I see that. And also, you have to understand, horse racing is still very popular in America, especially this time of the year when you have the spring and coming into the summer, and you have the great Del Mar racetrack, the great Saratoga racetrack. These are two tracks that I love to visit every year. Even though I don't really bet on horses, I bet, $5-10 a race. And I'll bet some numbers, some combinations and stuff, just to have some fun. If I lose $200, I'm going to spend more on dinner that night than I'm going to lose at the racetrack. That's for sure. So, but I enjoy these type of articles too, just to give you a little pump up. You have the Kentucky Derby coming up, the Triple Crown, so this is, I loved going to Monmouth Park when I was a kid. So it's a great, beautiful park in Monmouth County, New Jersey, in Oceanport. So I enjoyed that stuff, but just know what you're in for.
Yeah.
If you bet sports, it's going to hold about a 4.5% hold. That's if you don't do shopping, and it'd be much less if you line shop. When you bet horses, you're giving anywhere from like 15% on win bets to 35% on exotics and trifectas and pick sixes. So just know what you're in for. It's a lot harder to beat. Have fun with it.
Right. Have fun with it. That it is fun.
Listen, but the problem is, John, people don't have fun with it.
Right.
People actually expect to win, and it's instantaneous results. Horse betting, horse racing. They love that. They're off. You lose.
Next.
So people, they want instant gratification, whereas they can't sit and watch a 3-hour ball game, but they can watch a 30-second horse race. So, or whatever, a minute and a half horse race. So, just know what you're in for, know what you're doing, and knowing where the better hold is and where you should put your gambling dollar. WSN has some great articles on that, like we said. Also, great articles again on all news, all betting news, baseball, a lot of baseball articles up, U.S. sports betting news, which I love to follow. And it's got fantastic articles on Arizona, which was just passed. It's got stuff on New York when it legalized the sports betting. And of course, don't forget, I love the section on the left-hand side of the column there, bonuses. I love how you can just click on it, and every single state, and I'll read them real quick. New Jersey bonuses. These are all little tabs, and you click on that state and you see what you have for your jurisdiction. Illinois, Colorado, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Indiana, Iowa, Tennessee. It's just so cool. I click on New Jersey and you see the best sportsbook bonuses for New Jersey. And right away, if you just use the first 5, I'll say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. William Hill, 500. DraftKings, 1,000. Bet365, 500. BetMGM, a $600 risk-free bet. PointsBet, 1,000 in risk-free bets. Of course, that William Hill is also a risk-free bet. This is just those for 888, $500 risk-free
free
bet.
money.
This is all in New Jersey, but you have to go through the link there because like I said before, if you click on that link on WSN, that link for that site, you get the best bonus. You won't find bonuses for some of these. You won't find them anywhere else, just on WSN.
There you go. You heard it there from the Wise Crack himself, Mr. Bill Krackomberger. Bill, before we get to the Twitter questions and wrap this thing up, I would like a verbally binding agreement out of you. Are you ready?
That's hard for me to do without knowing what it is, but go ahead.
Could we this year, as the world goes back to normal, could we find ourselves in San Diego at a Padres game and then the next day pop on over to Del Mar and do a Day of the Ponies? Will you do it?
I do it every summer. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Can I invite myself?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
No, it's great. I look forward to it.
Very good. See, that wasn't too bad. Verbally.
Yeah, no, that's something I love to do. Are you kidding me? That's great.
All right, we've got a couple of Twitter questions for you. This one comes from @Citadel93. He says, "Any thoughts on the FCS playoffs this weekend?"
Ooh, that's a great subject. FCS. I think I went 5-0.
Yeah, I think you did.
I went 5-0 a couple weeks ago, and then last week I lay a little egg of 1-3, but we still won for the week because we killed everything else. But this is something that I've been doing really good this year at. So I enjoy the FCS. I'll tell you one thing: you're going to get the greatest line value. I took like 13 on a game that closed 7.5 last week. After the crack wins, guys get them. My God, it's amazing the closing line value you get. Listen, even if you don't want to, honestly, just you want to middle the game. I don't recommend middle of the game. I'm not middling them. Middle of the game. You're gonna have yourself a couple point middle around key numbers. If you listen to crack wins, listen to me. So I look forward to the playoffs. I think we got a good grasp on this, and I think we're going to win some money this weekend and going forward. So yes.
All right, outstanding. The next question comes from @BetsGalore44. He asks, "I understand closing line value matters, but if a line moves the opposite direction, should you double down or cut ties?"
That's a great question. And it's exactly what happened during the Jake Paul fight. I was planning to bet a lot more money on this Jake Paul fight, but the line, I hate to use the word scared, but for lack of a better word, the line actually scared me. I'm like, who is on this other side of this fight? I don't remember laying $1.60 on anything and closing $1.35 or $1.40 against me in a long, long time. So in this situation, I probably pulled back the reins a little bit. So there's your answer, and very good question. Thank you.
Okay, and lastly, at Ed Blust asks, how do you mentally manage the inevitable losing streak? Do you start to change it up or stick with what has worked for you before?
Stick with what has worked for me over the last 30 years. Listen, it's so easy to go on tilt or fall off the tracks a little bit. You have to stick with what works for you. I know what has got me the money over the years. I know what has made me the money that it has. I mean, we're all going to have losing weeks or a losing month here or there. I'm going to win 10 out of 12 months. It's just inevitable. It's what I've done forever. I've had a streak of 14 months in a row where I won every month. That's insane. I mean, so I know when you have those losing months, you can't change things. You can't do something different. You're going to pop right back on the track. And I mean, we had a streak with crack wins. I think we won like 6 months in a row, 7 months in a row. So you have a losing month. All right, big deal. All right, we're still going to win. We're going to regain all that money in the end anyway. Just follow the formula, follow
Trust
the bank
process, right?
Yep.
Trust in yourself.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. Well,
I have a question. Is that all the questions?
Yeah, that's all we got. What do you got?
Hold on. I have one.
Okay.
I have one. I have one from Twitter, from a Mike EJ. He says, say something nice about stations, William Hill, South Point, Wynn, or MGM. Yes, I left out Circa and Westgate only because they seem to be the only places you ever say anything nice about. Then he said cheers. So I kind of took it as like, I guess he's thinking that, I'm promoting those books for a reason. Trust me, they don't pay me anything for it. I've never even taken anything. They don't give me a comp, nothing. I don't get anything for it. I just say it because it's good to my bankroll. I'll tell you right now. But I'll have to tell you, the reason why I responded on Twitter, how can I say something nice about places that throw me out and don't book winners, like Stations or William Hill?
Makes sense.
NGM and Win, the NGM and Win app, they limit you to peanuts if you win. I talk nice about South Point when it's warranted. And that's really the same answer I'm going to give here. So, but I appreciate the question. And sometimes I'm a little bit too sensitive towards things, I guess, thinking that, jumping on the Circa bandwagon or Westgate bandwagon. I said something last week on a nationwide show about Circa's odds on their baseball. I don't like that they break -1. I think it's -137, come back 125. Other places most places that are a good 10-cent shop are -137, come back 127. So I'll say where I don't feel something's right too about any sports book, and I'll also put that same book on a pedestal for doing something right. And Circa and Westgate just seems to do things. It's not proper English or more right than other sports books. So there's my answer to that. Thanks for the question.
Fair enough. Okay, Crack, before I say goodbye, we say goodbye. There is a huge UFC card this Saturday night. 3 title fights. I don't know if you're aware of this. 3 title fights. The main event is Kamaru Usman. This is the welterweight division, 170 division. Kamaru Usman is fighting Jorge Masvidal, good friend of Ben Askren's, the one that knocked Ben out with the flying knee. Now, this is a rematch, okay? Masvidal lost their first meeting, but he took the fight on like a week's notice. So he has a full camp. Crack, I'm not saying Masvidal is going to win, but I'm saying I don't know if I can get away from the +320 odds on him.
Wow. Okay.
The co-main
so
event,
what side? What do you think you will have there?
So there's a parlay.
You could pass. Though. I know it's not in your repertoire, but you could pass.
I could, but here's the thing. Let me tell you the other 2 fights. Okay, I'm reading these off my phone with no glasses because my pride won't put glasses on camera. Okay. All right. The co-main event is Weili Zhang. She is the current champ in her division. She is 1-0 in the UFC, but she put a beat down on Joanna Jędrzejczyk. It was arguably fight of the year last year. It was the fight was March 7th. It was the fight before the world ended last year. So Weili Zhang, she's fighting Thug Rose Namajunas. Okay. Thug Rose used to be the champ. She had a little losing streak. She had a little, she kind of left the sport for a little bit, had to get her mind right. Rose is a +168 dog right now. And then the third title fight is Valentina Shevchenko, who's just been the reigning champ in her division for a very long time. She's fighting Jessica Andrade. Jessica's +300. So I don't know, +322, +168, and +310. I kind of need to have some money on all those dogs. What are your?
Wow, you're looking to own the casino.
I want to own the casino. $100 parlay. Those 3 dogs is massive, right?
Yeah. It must pay like thousands and thousands of dollars. I mean, yeah. All right. Well,
I'm not saying I think they're gonna win. I'm just saying I can't help myself but bet on them. It's the action junkie in me.
I'm rooting for you.
All right. Well, we'll circle back next week and see how that worked out for me. We do have some big guests coming up. I'm not going to say who the guest is next week, but here's what I will do. I will tease the audience right now and tell you that Ozzie Smith will be on this show in the coming weeks. Beauty and the Beast co-host or host, I should say, with Julian Marquez. The beauty of Beauty and the Beast, Kendra Lust, who's also a huge fight fan. She will be on this show in the coming weeks, and I know you've got some people too. So I tell the audience you'll have to tune in and see who we have for next week, and we'll see you then on Wise Kracks.
Thanks for watching, guys.